Hi everyone. I'm just redoing the recordings I did explaining the examples of the book reviews, and this is designed just to help you plan your own book review. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the example from the Moodle site down in the book review resources section in additional readings. It's the last section in Moodle. And book review number 1 is from the Australian Book Review. So all of the requirements for the assignments are in the assessment details section, and the book review, you'll remember, I hope, is a 1,000 word book review of a popular fiction book of your choice, and that really means genre fiction. So you're not looking at literary fiction, you're looking at genre fiction. You should have had your choice approved by now. If you haven't, email either myself or Lauren, whoever's your tutor, and we'll shoot you back an email. And you have to model your review on the style found in one of the following sources: Australian Book Review, New York Review of Books, London Review of Books. And your review has to address questions of genre, style, quality, and other issues that are relevant to a critical engagement with your chosen book. And then down in this section, there's an example of Australian Book Review. There's 2 of those. A review from the New York Review of Books and a review from the London Review of Books. So this first podcast is looking at the Australian Book Review example, and then separate videos look at Book Review 2 and Book Review 3. Okay, so the first paragraph, we can see it's not like an argumentative essay. So it's not this first sentence: some books in a writer's oeuvre are like beacons. And the next: Louise Erdrich has shone such lights before, but in a prolific career, this is her 15th novel, La Rose is perhaps her brightest. So that first sentence, it's not like an argumentative essay. It's not a thesis statement. It's more what you would read in those inserts you find in the Sunday newspapers. So it's for a general reader. It's designed to draw us in as readers to what you're about to write. And then this sentence is a very, very brief statement, really, of what the whole thing's saying. A story of traditional justice, vengeance and healing. La Rose is also a cohesive weaving of intergenerational stories that links back to the beginning of a writing career spanning more than 30 years. You can see that the sub-editor or editor of the book review has drawn a pull quote out here. In Erdrich's world, people, cultures and history are inexplicably intertwined, and that actually comes from this sentence down here. Okay, so how is this one structured? And why I think this is a really interesting way to analyse these book review examples is because you've got 1,000 words. Let's say it takes you 80 to 100 words to do your intro. Oops. 80 to 100 words to do your conclusion. That leaves you about 800 words. So you'll only be able to cover 3 or 4 points, and you won't definitely be able to cover every single thing you could write about your chosen book. How Sarah Miles, who's the author of this one, attacks her review here is, first of all, in this first paragraph, she talks about the setting. She says it's set on a Native American reservation in North Dakota. And she deals with setting first, I think, because she's arguing that this particular author really uses that particular setting and what it can offer to tensions and other aspects of the narrative. So she starts out with setting. If you've picked a book where the setting's important, maybe you could do that. Pick out whatever's kind of important. Then she spends up to here talking about the plot. So she very quickly outlines the plot. And in book reviews, people are very often or usually quite careful not to offer plot spoilers. So it's telling us enough about the plot as a potential reader that we can understand whether it's a book we really are intrigued by, but not so much that it totally gives away the story, which, you know, particularly in genre fiction, as we've discussed, the ending is the payoff for the reader, be it finding out who did the crime, finding out, you know, how the lovers get to marry, and so on. The next thing that Miles does is she talks about character. So she talks about that for a couple of paragraphs. And, you know, she tells us that LaRose is the peacemaker, that there have been, you know, generations of LaRoses, and tells us that in Erdrich's world, people, cultures, and history are inextricably intertwined. Yeah, so far we've had setting, then we've had plot, then we have character, and then she talks a bit about style. So she talks about Erdrich's actual writing style, although it's kind of mixed into a bit with themes and plots as well. But it's more about how Erdrich writes them and how Erdrich establishes them. Then there's a little bit of criticism. So, you know, she's saying the narrative slows towards the middle, a loose weave, blah, blah, blah. But importantly, I think she addresses the themes as well. So, like much else in Erdrich, it's a way of recognising how to survive. Then it ends with somewhat of a summary, and it ends with a quote, which obviously Miles believes is really central to the way this story is told. And this quote is, "Moral, our stories don't have those." Another thing to note is how this reviewer and how this particular journal, the Australian Book Review, uses quotes. So little quotes here and there. You know, couldn't bear the weird indecency of what he felt they were doing to the child. So do that also in your book review, because of course it makes it more interesting. Remember, book reviews are generally aimed at potential readers. Some readers choose what they're going to read by those books, and certainly publishers who send the books in to these journals, that's what they're wanting. They're wanting reviews that are going to attract various readers. And maybe the Australian Book Review doesn't have a huge readership, but often other internet sites, other journals will pick up aspects of these book reviews and reuse them. So it's kind of the ripple effect. They reach far more people than actually buy the book review. Make sure that you can set it out like this if you want, in columns. You don't have to, but make sure that you include the title and publication details of your book, and make sure somewhere in here you tell us which of the examples you're basing it on, because one of the purposes of this exercise is to help you copy styles and to work out what styles are needed. Please note that the Australian Book Review does have pages where it offers advice for new readers and general advice, advice for new reviewers and general advice for reviewers. And for your convenience, as they say in the classics, I've put these into the book review resources section of additional readings. So here we've got ABR advice for new reviewers. So please read that. If you're choosing the Australian Book Review as your example, make sure you read those handouts as well, because they'll tell you a lot about the style. Okay, so that's the end of this little video. Make sure that you have a look at the other two videos that are about to be posted as well.